Following the success of King Kong vs. Godzilla, Toho, still retaining the rights to the character, was eager to make a standalone Kong film. After their first attempt evolved into another Godzilla film, it was decided to make a loose cinematic adaptation of the King Kong animated series airing at the time, which had Kong going on adventures with a human family, protecting them from various monsters and mad scientist plots. The always reliable Ishiro Honda was brought on to direct, as was special effects director Eiji Tsuburaya and musical composer Akira Ifukube. And so with Toho's golden boys at the helm, King Kong Escapes stomped its way into theaters in 1967, a delightfully quirky gem of a movie that carries the distinct honor of being the only Japanese Kong film ever made. The nefarious Doctor Who has constructed a robot copy of King Kong he calls Mechani-Kong, and plans on using it to mine a highly valuable element called Element X for the benefit of the mysterious and beautiful Madame Piranha. Meanwhile, a Yuan research submarine under the command of Carl Nelson stops for repairs near Mondo Island, where they encounter the mighty King Kong, who befriends them and protects them from the other creatures of the island. Following the failure of Mechani-Kong, Doctor Who kidnaps the real Kong and forces him to dig for Element X instead. And now it's up to Carl Nelson, along with his colleagues Jiro Nomura and Susan Watson, to free Kong and stop Doctor Who from fulfilling his wicked plans. In many ways, King Kong Escapes is a Japanese remake of the 1933 King Kong, taking the original concept and adding the over-the-top eccentricities that's unique to the nation's style of storytelling. This means that on top of the elements everyone associates with King Kong, such as mysterious islands and alluring blondes, there's also mad scientists, plots of world domination, and of course, a giant robot for Kong to tussle with, all of which are mixed and mashed up within a very broad reimagining of the classic King Kong story. However, the film is original enough that it still manages to be its own thing, and adds just enough new ideas to the King Kong mythos to make for a fun, albeit extremely silly, monster flick that is sure to tickle the funny bone of those with a soft spot for the great ape. Yes, King Kong Escapes is unique in many ways, first and foremost because it is a distinctly Japanese take on an American monster, filtered through the lens of the animated series that inspired it. This makes it a rather special entry, both within the King Kong series and Toho's vast library of kaiju films. Many of its characters and plot points are ripped straight from the sorts of spy films that were popular at the time, and all of it is as silly as you would imagine it to be. But that is the film's charm. While it doesn't break new ground in any particular way, it's consistently entertaining, well-paced, and has enough action scenes to keep you engaged all the way through. The cast of human characters are all actually fairly strong and quite memorable. The film's three principal characters all feel like alternate universe versions of Carl Denham, Jack Driscoll, and Ann Darrow, fulfilling those characters' roles but within a completely different context. Like Invasion of Astro Monster 2 years prior, the film pairs Toho stalwart Akira Takarada with an English-speaking American actor, which in this case is Rhodes Reason, who brings some of that old-fashioned American swagger that makes these collaboration films fun to watch. In a refreshing turn, Linda Jo Miller as Susan Watson is a more confident, competent version of her American counterpart, playing Kong's object of affection without handing over her autonomy. Following her appearance in King Kong vs. Godzilla, Mie Hana shares the screen with Kong once again, this time playing femme fatale Madame Piranha, though she is overshadowed by Hideyo Amamoto's Doctor Who, the film's most over-the-top and thus most entertaining character. He's easily one of the most theatrical human antagonists in a kaiju film, sporting a plan that makes little sense when given the slightest bit of scrutiny, but it sure makes for a fun villain. King Kong Escapes is also the first film to introduce the concept of a mechanical doppelganger of the star monster, and thus is the actual inspiration for Mechagodzilla, which may come as a surprise to many Godzilla fans. Gorosaurus makes his first appearance as well, playing the equivalent of the T-Rex in the original King Kong, and so only exists to get trounced by Kong, even dying in a similar fashion. As for Kong himself, while it cannot be denied that he looks a lot better than he did in King Kong vs. Godzilla, the suit is still extremely goofy looking, but it fits within the inherently silly nature of the film, so it doesn't take long to get over it, and you may find yourself even warming up to the big guy. Given the experience of the filmmakers involved, it's no surprise that King Kong Escapes is a well-made movie for its time. Ishiro Honda's direction is solid as always, and the special effects and model work by Eiji Tsuburaya are very good. And as always, Akira Ifukube lends the film a few memorable tunes, some of which would later be reused in future Godzilla films. Really, the biggest thing holding the film back is that so much of it is a retread of the classic King Kong story, which wouldn't necessarily be a problem if Toho themselves hadn't reused and repurposed those very same elements in many of their prior films. This is something Kong wouldn't be able to escape for many decades later, which just goes to show you how influential the original film was. And that is ultimately what holds King Kong Escapes back from being a true classic. Even with all the added elements, the film just can't get out from under the shadow of the original, spending half of its time paying tribute instead of doing something truly original of its own. In doing this, it becomes one of those middle-of-the-road kaiju films that are fun to watch but don't stick around in the brain long after. Its oddball plot and above-average characters are the film's strongest attribute, making it by far the strangest entry in Kong's filmography, and should be seen for that reason alone, because for as derivative as it is in certain aspects, it sports more imagination and heart than the next few American entries would, making it a film Kong and kaiju fans alike should see at least once. For more reviews and opinions on all things King Kong, subscribe and stay tuned to Up From the Depths.